Successful meetings and ultimately successful collaborations are about people, first and foremost. When you can't have everybody in the same room with you, it's important to be able to see them, to be able to interact with them, along with the information that you're working on. The only way that we could make it happen every day is to use GoToMeeting.
I'm Michael Perusable, entrepreneur, speaker, and best-selling author of Shark Tank Jumpstart Your Business. This is a show about discovery, about showcasing the next generation of business and media influencers. It's new, it's now, it's the next crop. Hi everyone, welcome back to The Next Crop. I'm Michael Perusable. You're watching 5 Minutes More with my guest Al Pittampalli, who is a speaker and best-selling author whose new book is all about being persuaded. So Al, let's talk about, if you're somebody who's bought this, if someone has been persuaded by what you had to say, how do you become a more persuadable person? More importantly, how do I become a more persuadable person? Because I'm not very persuadable.
So the first thing is to make the decision that you want to be persuadable, right? Because nothing can happen unless you really kind of take on the identity of being persuadable.
The first step is knowing you have a problem.
Right,
okay,
exactly.
All right.
But assuming that you have, let's talk about a couple tactics, right? So one of them is about making sure that you're imagining the scenario in which you are persuaded. Okay. So it turns out that one of the reasons why we are unpersuadable is because we don't like the outcome that somebody's trying to persuade us of. I mean, you may be trying to persuade me that I'm wrong about something. I don't want to be wrong about that thing, right? So it's pretty simple. So what we have to do is visualize. If you can visualize a scenario where you are wrong, right? Visualize, well, what would happen?
I got nothing, Al. I got nothing. I'm sorry. No, I'll get there. Okay, go on.
If you can actually visualize the scenario in which you're wrong, like what would the world look like if you were actually wrong? And what you'll realize is that it's probably not going to be that bad. In fact, what our mind does is it automatically catastrophizes. So it treats things like that as way worse than they actually are, unless we actually visualize them and give our brain an alternative vision of what this is really going to look like, one that is more based on in reality. So if you can do that, your mind will realize, okay, if I am really persuaded that this won't be the worst thing in the world, and that way I'll be more open-minded to what you have to say. That doesn't mean I'm persuaded yet, but now at least I have a chance to be persuaded.
Okay, so the first thing is recognizing that you need to be persuaded, and the second thing is putting yourself, at least in your head, in a situation in which you will be persuaded. What would be another way? Another
thing that you can do is body language, right? So it turns out that when we are in the heat of an argument, our brain thinks that we are in a fight, right? And what's triggered is our sympathetic nervous system. Our sympathetic nervous system is the one that is the fight or flight system, right? So our blood rate increases, our blood pressure increases, our heart rate increases. You know, we are now in a mode where we're looking to thwart our opponent instead of actually be receptive to feedback and persuasion. So one of the things you can do is really get in touch with your body. When you feel yourself, kind of practice this. Find yourself in an argument with somebody and just notice, like, how does my body feel right now? You'll probably feel that a tightness in certain parts of your body. You'll probably get an increased rate of breathing. And if you can calibrate what those things are, then you can now notice when that happens throughout the day, and then use relaxation kind of exercises, deep breathing, open posture, to make sure you're putting yourself in a state where your sympathetic nervous system is disengaged and you're going to be more receptive to people's advice. Okay, do you think that the culture we're in, let's just say the media culture that we're in, we have this 24-hour news cycle, we have right and wrong, yes and no. Are we in a culture that makes it difficult to be persuadable? And do you see this changing? Are we going to become a less persuadable society as the years tick on? I think a lot of it has to do with media. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. In fact, that is a big part of my book, is understanding that, listen, at some level we are biologically predisposed to be unpersuadable, but on another level, culture has a humongous impact on the fact that we see, for example, in debates, the person who is persuaded as the loser, and the person who is the persuader as winner. That's why you'll see on CNN two political pundits going at it after each other, and neither one of them is ever going to concede, no matter how wrong they are. Right. Because to concede is to just basically bow down to that person and concede that that person is superior. The media really needs to understand that they are an influencer on culture, and they need to pick guests who are more persuadable, and they need to stop encouraging and incentivizing their pundits to be less persuadable.
Which sadly, I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's a nice thought. Final question about all of this. Politics, same deal in politics. You just mentioned it yourself. It hurts the opponent if they're persuadable, right? Is that how we're going to fix our political system, if we're all open to being a little bit more persuadable?
Yes, I think that we need to be more persuadable, but we need to, as a culture, start rewarding politicians and political officials who are more persuadable. I mean, sometimes we demonize people for changing their minds, right? I mean, the whole flip-flopper label is thrown around so fecklessly to people who change their mind. We should reward people who flip-flop for the right reasons, right? If you do it genuinely and you do it intellectually, where you change your mind due to progress or due to changing facts, we should really elect these people, we should vote for them. So as a culture, as citizens, we have to, the way we're going to change the system is by changing our perception about what is right and wrong in our culture. That's the way it's going to happen, is from the ground up.
Well, you've persuaded me. Thanks so much for being here. My guest again has been Al Pittampalli. You can find out more about what Al's working on at modernmeetingstandard.com or on Twitter @Pittampalli. And you can find all of that information on our site as well. That is thenextcrop.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great week.